10. It's the big 10. The 10th episode of Better Than the Best, where I take popular fast food and restaurant menu items suggested by you and make them better. For this special 10th episode, we have chosen a multiple award-winning dish, the Paradise Hyderabadi Dum Biryani. I'm vegetarian and I don't eat. So, Srinath, why don't you come and help me out here?
It's really good.
It's good?
Yeah. Okay, the mutton is really soft. Do you think you can make that?
I have a little trick up my sleeve, so I think I can.
Okay.
So, let's see what we can do. This is our next ingredient. You're probably wondering what it is, and it's a raw papaya. So it's usually added to red meat to tenderize it so that it's really nice and soft once it's done cooking. And that's the piece that I've taken out of it. So I just removed the skin. I added the chunks into a blender and added a little bit of water and made like a smooth paste, which should look like this. And I've added 2 tablespoons of this paste to a kilo of my mutton. Time for powdered spices. This is Shahjeera, which is kind of like the cousin of the regular cumin that you use at home, but it's a lot more pungent, a lot stronger and has a unique taste, so it's a non-negotiable for this recipe. Then come the fresh ingredients. And then I'm adding the curd. And finally the fats, which is a mixture of oil and ghee. Now it's time to mix this all up really well. Set this aside and move on with the rest of my recipe and allow the flavors to develop. We are going to fry some onions now. Nice and golden brown, yes.
We are running on a schedule. இதெல்லாம் off camera பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
Excuse me, who's the chef here? No, we can't do this off cam, by the way. I think that making golden brown onions is honestly harder than perfecting like a really good biryani. So stay patient with me. So I have some really finely sliced onions here, and what I've actually done, because I had some time, was that I sprinkled a little bit of salt to extract some of the extra water that's there in the onions, which will make the frying easier. This method that I'm doing here is the easiest way for you to fry a large batch of onions, because when you add onions to hot oil, it's all going to bubble up, but I'm going to show you that's not going to happen now. So the salted onions that I have, I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit of the water. And I'm adding it to oil that's just on a simmer. The oil isn't even hot yet. All this water in the onion is the reason why it takes so long to make golden brown onions. So this kind of makes the process a lot faster. I added all the onions into the pot and then I yanked up the heat. So now is when the oil actually gets hot and the onions start frying. So the rest of the cooking time is all going to be in high heat until they get light golden. And I am not saying golden brown because that's a tip for a few minutes later. The flame is off. The onions are one shade lighter than I want them to be. And I'm straining them. And then you can squeeze out the extra oil and tip them onto tissue paper to drain. Spread them out evenly so that they can cool down and get nice and crispy. So a few seconds ago, I did mention take it off the flame and drain it when it's one shade lighter, because the onions have some heat remaining in them. It's called latent heat and they're going to continue cooking and developing color until they cool down. So which is why if you take them off when they're like a light golden brown, they'll get like the peak color after a few seconds. Here's the scene where we start cooking the mutton. If you're from a place where the mutton quality is really good, you can actually skip this step. The mutton here isn't as great, so I'm actually going to cook it for a few extra minutes before I layer it with the rice. So this is going to take 15 minutes. And in the meanwhile, let's enjoy some onion ASMR, because I'm so proud of these babies. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's been roughly about 15 minutes and the mutton is getting cooked nicely. But I forgot to add these babies in because I took them away to kind of protect them and keep them safe from all the evil people here. You just want to keep a little bit for garnish later. So I want to keep about a handful and then add all of the rest. So I'm adding like half a cup of hot water because this is mutton and it's actually released a lot of water on its own. But if you are making chicken, then I'd suggest adding somewhere close to a cup of hot water. So my mutton's kind of ready for layering now. Here's a pot of water that's been salted, and the same spices that I added into my biryani, like the whole spices, have gone into the water as well. So I'm just using a tea strainer. So I got out as much of the whole spices as possible. I'm adding a little bit of ghee and a little bit of rose water and some kevra water. This has been washed 3 times until the water runs clear and then soaked for about 25 minutes. There's a small little technique when it comes to actually layering the biryani. You add rice at 2-minute intervals so that they are cooked to different degrees. So the rice that is added at the bottom is the least cooked and gets cooked in all of that masala that gives you that nice orange masala rice. And then the rice that you keep adding on top just gets steamed in all of this. So from top to bottom you'll have less or no masala to most masala, and that's how the layering is done for this biryani. Time to bring this back on the heat. So this is a little bit or a lot of saffron in hot water. Some melted ghee. The remainder of the fried onions. And the same flavoring agents that I used a few moments earlier. Some rose and kevra. And the final step is to just cover it up so that we don't allow any of the steam to escape. Okay, I need a little help picking this up. And now we cook this for 30 to 40 minutes on a simmer. And for the moment of truth. Looks so good.
Can I taste vayu urudhu?
Yeah. எங்கடா ஓடி போற?
The meat is definitely more flavorful in this. இதில் கொஞ்சம் ட்ரையாக இருக்குது, நல்லா ஜூஸியாக இருக்குது, அண்ட் மசாலா நல்லா இறங்கி இருக்குது. I eat this, but I prefer this. And even the color, this one's brown, இது நல்லா red and vibrant இருக்குது. Whoever did this, great job. So this is better. Bye.
So if you like this episode, like, share, subscribe to Cook, and comment what you want to make next. Comment what you want me to make next time.